gold down there, Diane. There's gold down there.
You're like their number one favorite guy. Because you won them cash. Hi and welcome to the tour report from Secret Golf, week 2 of the FedExCup Playoffs, and it's off to a brand new course that we've never seen before on the PGA Tour. We're going to get into that, but first of all, a little bit of a change to the show this week in that my regular co-host, Steve Elkington, he is flying in the skies right now off to New York, which is a week too late, but maybe the best time given the weather that we saw at the Northern Trust. So Elk can't be on the show. We have got a little bit of video of him that we're going to interject a little bit later, but my co-host for the week, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're giving him even more time on the show. Jay Kaplan, it's over to you.
I'd like to give everybody the real reason why I'm hosting the show with you. And I don't say co-hosting. I'm saying hosting the show with you. I know Elk's on the road. We knew that was coming. But I think what you tend to do is roll out the heavy hitters for the playoffs. And that's what we've done. Again, last week I was on with your top 10. This week I'm on for the full show. And it should be of no surprise, since I am one of the foremost phenomenal prognosticators based on our algorithm in the country.
Oh, well, you gave yourself the best introduction that you could ever possibly receive. Gave yourself.
You're not going to give it to me. Somebody's got to do it.
Well, thank you very much for standing in Elk's extremely stylish shoes. And as I said, we are going to hear from Elk. He just recorded a little video piece that we're going to edit in. So the show this week is going to be a little bit different in the format, because we're on to week 2 of the FedExCup Playoffs. The top 70 are playing in the BMW Championship, and the top 30 next week will make it to the Tour Championship at Eastlake. So this week we're going to do things a little bit different in that myself and Jay and Elk, we're going to pick an overall winner for the BMW this week. We're going to pick somebody in the top 30 that we think is going to move out. And then somebody who's in the top, rest of the field that's going to move into the top 30. I've probably made that sound way more confusing than it actually is.
Yeah, I'm not sure I follow it, but I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to try to fulfill my obligation of picking whatever you just said.
Okay, good. Well, I'll keep you right as we go. We had to talk a little bit about last week, the Northern Trust and the first round of the FedExCup Playoffs. And oh my gosh, Tony Finau finally got the win.
Yeah, only in golf do you get publicly penalized for being consistent. I mean, this guy's been one of the better players consistently on tour for a really long time. And all anyone can talk about is how he blows it when he has a chance to win. So then he wins, and you come on our phone call this morning and tell me that this is a guy that you just don't have a good vibe for, and you were disappointed that he won. That's exactly what you said, and I'm being nice about it. Here's the real deal for all of you out there about Diane. She may look nice, she may sound nice, but she's got some harsh realities to bring when it comes to picking players. And the fact that Tony Finau, nice guy Tony, one of the better players out there, actually finally closed not just a win, but a big one. So now he's a playoff winner. That's a big deal. I'm thrilled for him. You're rubbed the wrong way. I don't know what it is, but you have some explaining to do. So go.
Well, okay. You're right in that there has been so much surrounding Tony Finau as being someone who just couldn't get it done. He couldn't cross the finish line. We saw him losing a playoff to Max Homa at the Genesis at Riviera at the start of the year, and, in the playoff was terrible. And it was always one of those things that when it came down to the clutch putt, the pressure, he just couldn't perform. And putting was always his nemesis when it came down to these big moments. And that was really the differential, especially in the final round of the Northern Trust. He putted lights out. And that's, what of course won him the Northern Trust. However, I was pulling hard for Cam Smith. First of all, for John Ram, because he had been my overall pick to win last week anyway. And then seeing Cam Smith in that position, we saw him have a putt for 59 on Saturday. I was pulling hard for Cam Smith. He blew it on the playoff hole by hitting his tee shot OB.
Great. Now, can you get over it? Because he won a playoff event. What else does he have to do to come into your good graces? Let's see what he does this week. I mean, he obviously, with the points being so available, you can move up dramatically from the outside in. He's now at the top of the FedExCup list, which I can easily make the argument that the entire point system is wacky. I mean, he jumps up to 1. It's clearly a John Rahm season, and he's still number 2. But to even see a 2 by Rahm is ridiculous. But I'm happy for Finau. The world is happy for Finau.
Yay.
Except for you.
No,
and you can explain yourself all you want, but you know what? You can't jump on the bandwagon now. It's too late for you. You're a bad person, and Tony Finau's the champion.
Okay, well, I'm happy. I'm happy you're happy. But this week, as you say, there's so much volatility because we have quadruple points in the playoffs. And this week for the BMW Championship, there's no cut. So the top 70 are playing. And we know that Patrick Reed is withdrawal because he's in the hospital battling double pneumonia. So hopefully he regains full health and fitness soon. Golf is probably the furthest thing from his mind right now. He just needs to get fit and healthy. So we will see what happens with that. And then we still have a little bit of a question mark over Louis Oosthuizen, who was battling a neck injury. Even if he doesn't play this week, he's still guaranteed his place at Eastlake. And then even Colin Morikawa has been complaining of some back problems since the Olympics. But right now, we have 69 guys who will definitely be playing. It's Caves Valley Golf Club in Baltimore. Now, Jay, the interesting thing about this course is we don't really know much about it. It's a Tom Fazio design, 7,542 yards, par 72, bent grass greens. How, obviously with the Monday finish at the Northern Trust, there's way less prep and turnaround time for these guys. How do you think that's going to impact them this week?
Well, I mean, it impacts them somewhat. I mean, these guys are the best players in the world. I think they can adapt and deal with the adversity quickly. Nothing says playoffs like Baltimore, Maryland. It's an unusual pick. All of a sudden, the tour interjects a course that nobody knows with a point system that's wacky. It doesn't feel playoff-like. Last year was Olympia Fields. That felt like a playoff event. This year, it's a place that nobody knows in a town that's known for natty bow and crabs. So the good crabs. So the answer to your question, Diane, is who the hell knows if anybody is really ready to play. It is a short week. It's a short trip to Baltimore from New York, so it's not really that big of a travel deal. These guys will be ready to play, but it is interesting to know that a lot of guys are nursing their bodies a little bit. It's that time of year. It's the end of the season. There's a push here. A lot of guys, especially with the Olympics, their schedules were different this year. So maybe their body's not really reacting well. So there'll be some guys that have to fight through bumps and bruises and tweaks and twerks, and we'll see if they can withstand it. But what we do know is when you're playing a Fazio course, the greens are going to be the thing. So as we look at who's played here before, who hasn't, I think you mentioned in our pre-call that 2007, the Palmer Cup was here. Who cares? I mean, that was forever ago. The greens will be tough. You got to be precise. You have to be close to the hole to make putts. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, 2002 it hosted the Senior Open. It's hosted the Senior Players, some NCAA events. And yes, as you said, 2007, the Palmer Cup, which is, like the junior version of the Ryder Cup. But there were quite a few guys on the winning US team that are playing this week, which I think, yeah, you're right. It was a long time ago, but it's really cool to see that talent at that age has made it to the PGA Tour. And, they're in the second playoff event. We're talking about Brian Harman, Billy Horschel, Dustin Johnson, Luke List, Chris Kirk, Webb Simpson. I know that we're going to be talking about some of these guys later on in the show. But I think even playing it a long time ago, there's got to be a slight advantage. They've all been extremely enthusiastic when asked about coming back to this course and have said that it's a great venue. It's a big northeastern course. They've added length since then to make it playable for a PGA Tour playoff event. They have added a lot of bunkers. There's a lot of new bunkers, just a lot of sand in general on this course. Not a huge amount of water, only really 5 holes, and 3 par 4s could be drivable. 3 drivable par 4s if the wind is playing right. So, by all accounts, it looks like the guys are going to be able to tear up the course this week.
Well, and it's probably going to be warm. It's that time of year. We're here at the end of August. It can get sweltering in Baltimore in that area. We'll have to keep an eye on the forecast. It will come into play like it did last week. We missed an entire day of Sunday because of the torrential rain and the storm that rolled through. But 2007 was 14 years ago. These guys were playing in a young man's tournament. This is a man's event. It's a man's event. Let me rephrase that. The course is longer. It doesn't look the same. I'm sure they've tidied it up. Yeah. They've flipped the 9, so now it's playing differently. They do that for spectator reasons, even though there's probably hardly any spectators there. But so it's just a different place. There's no advantage for anybody unless you grew up in Baltimore. You have a house on the course, which this is one of those country club courses. So we'll see. My thing is, we're now down to the top 70 players. These are the guys that have earned their way through. There's a lot of money on the line over the next couple weeks. So we're going to see the better players eventually pull away from these guys, from the field.
Okay, so coming up on the Tour Report this week, we are going to look at guys moving into the top 30, guys that we think are going to move out of the top 30, and then we'll make our overall winner pick. Elk is going to join us to give us his picks too on the Tour Report.
Compete against your friends on PGA Tour events. Win cash and bragging rights. Test your golf knowledge. Experience the success and failure of PGA Tour players. Man. SG Tour app is an engaging golf experience designed by professional golfers that created a variety of games, including single and multi-day games, as well as tournament-long contests. It's really simple. Join or create a game. Pick 4 players and win cash. You can even immerse yourself in interactive features, including course strategy, putt predictor, and daily content exclusively from PGA Tour players. The word is out and golf fans are catching on. So don't miss out. Download the SG Tour app now.
Well, we're on to week 2 of the FedExCup Playoffs, and we are handicapping the BMW Championship right here on the Tour Report. I'm Diane Knox. I'm joined by Jay Kaplan, who's my co-host, secondary host this week. And even though Elk is traveling, he recorded a little video for us, and we're going to be able to add some little bits. First up, actually, Elk gave us his views on Caves Valley Golf Club and what he thinks the guys will face this week on this Fazio design.
I am going to try to make some sense out of this next playoff event this week. The guys have really been pinned down with their schedule with the hurricane that came through New York this week. The most important thing about this is, or the most sort of relative thing is, nobody's actually played this golf course. Maybe there's one in there somewhere that has, but more than likely, no one's played this golf course, and they're going to be getting there today or last night. They only have a very short time to learn it. And what about this course? Tom Fazio designed course, and when you start to think about a course that nobody knows anything about, and Tom Fazio did it, he's really famous to us about the way he does these undulating greens, and they're very hard to memorize. And what I mean by memorize is Fazio greens are hard to learn. You can't remember, like if we all think about, say, Augusta, and we know, every one of us knows the course by watching it on TV. We know on 18, coming up over that hill of how much that we know what to expect. Very difficult to learn Fazio greens because they have a lot of undulations and it's hard to learn. So what does that make me think of? It makes me think of guys that are good iron players who could get close to the pins on a Tom Fazio green. That's what I'd be thinking if I was traveling up there today to play this event. How can I get my irons close enough to these flags where I can read this putt and make a birdie?
Right, so Jay, on our tour report, we're going to give you 3 picks each. A guy that we think is going to move out of the top 30, someone we think is going to move into the top 30, and then we have an overall winner. So first up, we're going to look at someone who's out with the top 30 that we think is going to move in and make it all the way to the Tour Championship at Eastlake. Right, Jay, my pick just had a great week at the Northern Trust and ended up finishing in a tie for 4th. The week before that, playing at the Wyndham Championship, he finished 16th, which is still pretty good, but 2 solid weeks from Alex Noren. Now, right now he is 43rd in the FedExCup standings. Odds-wise, we have him at 80-1. And with the quadruple points, I'm making my case for Noren to move up into the top 30.
Yeah, I like this pick. And I like it for one reason, Diane. His putter, 26th in putting average on the PGA Tour. And we just heard from Elk, and we said in the beginning, this is going to come down to being able to handle these Tom Fazio greens. So as long as Noren is in play off the tee and he's close to the hole, which isn't his strong suit, mind you, his proximity to the hole, he's 194. That should make you nervous if you're looking for a big jump. But I do like his putter. It can make up for a lot of wayward shots. So you'll have to keep an eye on how he's striking his irons to see if he's a guy that will jump. But I don't mind this pick. I don't love it. His numbers don't warrant it totally, but the putter being in play could be an advantage for you.
Yeah, it's his putting that really did it for me, and that's what's done it for him over the past couple of weeks as well. But also, he's a great scrambler. And playing around the green, we know that these greens are super undulated, they have a lot of character to them. We know there's a lot of trouble around the greens in the form of the bunkers. He's a great scrambler. So that combined with the putter are my reasons for picking Alex Noren at 43rd in the standings to make it into the top 30.
Okay, duly noted. I'm going to write him down. Alex Noren. I put him down on my list to keep an eye on. So, Diane, I have 2 gentlemen that I marked. I narrowed it down that were outside of the top 30. And normally you're looking for a trend here, right? Guys that have been playing well. We have a stat that we do that most people do not. We have a current form rank, and that's a big one for me. I usually go right to it in the beginning. But in this particular case, I picked between 2 guys that really aren't showing great form, but I believe in them. I believe they're motivated by where they come in this week. I circled Brian Harman first, and then I looked down. He's 75th in form, but his numbers are pretty good. He's 16th in total putting average, which is really good, really strong. 15th in scrambling, 73 in driving, but he's just not playing well. 36, 90, and 75 are his finishes. We have him ranked 67th in form. So that sort of sealed the deal for whom I pick to leapfrog into the top 30 is. And he comes in this week ranked 54th. But when you think of a guy, and I use the word steady, if you think of a guy with the word steady attached to him, the picture in the dictionary is this dude. He's a handsome, strapping man from the United Kingdom, Diane. So I know you have fancied him at one time. 12th in total driving. His weakness is putting, 124th in putting. That's what's held him back. Last week, 64th. I don't love the fact that he is coming in not off one of his better events, but he's one of the preeminent ball strikers on tour. He's been that way for some time. He's 11th in proximity to the hole. That's what sealed it for me, taking this guy. That means he's going to be close to the hole. I'm hoping that's going to make up for some of his faulty putting. I'm going to count on it this week. He's 54th coming in. He's going to be 30 or higher leaving here. It's your favorite, Diane, the one and only Paul Casey.
And I don't trust that putting stat because he is putting way better than that stat shows. It's something he's been doing a lot of work on really since the Masters in April, and his putting is way better than it was. So I think, that number you have to take with a little bit of a pinch of salt. So Casey, great pick at 54, needs to make a big jump to get into that top 30. So I'm going with Alex Noren, Jay saying Paul Casey. Let's find out who Elk is picking to move in to the Tour Championship field.
Now, on to my player that I think is out of the top 30 that is going to do something this week and jump back in. And that is my friend from Australia, Mark Leishman, number 35 on the list. And the reason I think that, when we handicap golf, we, more than anything, I'm almost relieved this week that we don't have to go through all these stats on everything, because at this point it feels like it's attitude. Where's everybody's game? Who can play well? Who's making a move? Doesn't matter to me if the guy's 100th in driving accuracy, if he's driving good right now, because he's only going to play a couple more events and he's going for things that he maybe wouldn't go for on a regular week. Now, Leishman won with his friend Cam Smith. We've seen Cam Smith play good the last two weeks, Memphis and last week in New York. Could have won both. It was great to see Tony Finau do what he's capable of. I think Mark Leishman has been in a little bit of a lull, but this is the way he plays. He comes and wins, and then he goes away for a while. And I think he's looking up there at his partner Cam Smith thinking, oh, I got to get a bit of this action. And I think he played just good enough last week to see some results. And I'm picking Mark Leishman to leapfrog into the top 30 from number 35 this week.
Coming up next, well, we're going to be going the other way and looking at names that could potentially move out of the 30 before giving you our big winners this week for the BMW.
Get in the game on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app and play 4-ball. It's a classic stroke play competition based on the aggregate scores of 4 players. Who makes your team? Well, pick 4 guys, 1 from each tier based on the current world golf rankings. Want a tip? You need 4 guys to make the cut. Get in the game on the SG Tour Golf Gaming app, available on iOS in the App Store.
It's the Tour Report from Secret Golf this week for the BMW Championship. So we have given you our pick of someone we think is going to play well this week and move into the top 30. Now we're looking at the guys that could fall out. Now remember, quadruple points in the playoff events, and there's no cut this week either. So we have, 69 guys in the field, with Patrick Reed being out. And, Elk can't join us live this week, Jay. However, he did record some video for us, and we're going to start with him. So this is who Elk thinks is going to move out of the top 30 and maybe not do so well this week at Caves Valley.
Now, my pick is, for this category, is the number 28 player, Rory McIlroy. And although Rory is the most gifted physical player we've had on the tour, his game has kind of gone backwards since he won at Quail Hollow this year. He's had some swing changes. He went to Europe for the Open, went to Japan for the Olympics. He's been playing a lot of golf, and we all know when Rory's sort of not in the right mood, he has a tendency to sort of keep going backwards until he gets motivated. He's got to be thinking about the Ryder Cup coming up. He's played a lot of golf. I'm not saying he's looking for an exit, but I just think he's going to get taken over by other players that are more engaged in the playoffs. I'm not saying he isn't. He's at 28. He only has to have 3 guys pass him. I think there's some younger guys, hungry guys behind him that are going to play better and knock him out.
I can't believe he stole my pick. Rory McIlroy is very close to that bubble number, so all eyes are going to be on him. He's definitely, you wouldn't expect him to be so far down the FedEx Cup rankings. And he was my pick as well for somebody to fall out of that 30.
Yeah, he was your pick, so I'm going to write him down in parentheses on my list here. Elk and Rory, man, do they have a history? I'll tell you what.
Let's not go there.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Well, I did come up with another pick when I found out that Elk wanted Rory. I'm good like that. And the guy that I'm picking is 29th in the standings. So he's hanging on in there as well, just behind Rory. But Charlie Hoffman is 100-1 to win. I know. And we love Charlie Hoffman. His numbers are really good. I mean, of course his stats are good because he's had a great season to be at 29 in the FedEx Cup standings. However, I'm really basing this on the way he's been playing lately, and it's nothing to write home about. He finished 21st at the Northern Trust, had a missed cut before that, a 30th before that. So there hasn't really been, those are fine, making cuts and making money, but when we rank by form, he's coming in at 47th, and I think even though we're going to see good scoring around Caves Valley this week, I think Hoffman is just going to slip out.
Yeah, it's an interesting pick. It's a disappointing pick, not by you, but just the fact that his name's even coming up, because we're big fans of his here. We have used him countless times this year, either on our sizzle list or as a dark horse. And if you're looking for a dark horse, and our rule is 100-1 or higher or lower, I don't know, it's sort of like air conditioning. Is it higher or lower? You have a guy that's 100-1 in Vegas. So that's a good value for Charlie Hoffman, but not according to you.
I know. And you're right, because he's a lovable character. However,
he is. He's a lovable character. So, Diane, I'm going to try to make a case for my pick.
Okay.
And you're going to find it controversial. I, however, call it logical. My guy is on the skids. And it's surprising that he's on the skids, because if you catapult yourself backwards in time, last year at this time, he was not just winning, he was historically dominating the PGA Tour and ended up capturing the FedEx Cup. And it wasn't even close. I mean, this guy was absolutely shredding the universe. Catapult back to current day, and it's the total opposite. And this guy's an enigma. His results have always been great. He's been the top player in the world before. He just seems to be disinterested. Something's going on. And then I hear that he's possibly getting married after like the longest engagement in the history of nuptials. He clearly has cold feet about everything. I don't know what's going on, but here's a guy who last week was atrocious. 2 weeks ago, he misses the cut. He goes top 10 in between that. He comes in 62nd in form. This is what makes me nervous about my pick. 17th in total driving, 18th in putting. So he's bookending with really good stats, but in between, proximity to the hole, scrambling, his iron play, not good. Something's up mentally with him. Obviously, he's got the talent to win this thing and even jump all the way up and be the FedEx champion and a defender. clearly by now, you know that my pick is Dustin Johnson, who's coming in 22nd on the FedEx Cup list, and he is plummeting. Can you hear that? Yeah, that's him plummeting all the way down the list. He's going to not fare well this week. He's actually going to drop out of the top 30, so we will not see him in Atlanta.
Wow. Okay, well, all I will say is this is not the last time that DJ is going to be mentioned on the show today. But you made a very passionate argument. So our three guys who were saying, who some of us are saying not to touch this week, we think they're not going to make it to Eastlake. Charlie Hoffman, Dustin Johnson, and Rory McIlroy. Right, we have one more part of the show to come, and we're going to be picking our overall winners, one name each from Jay, Elk, and I. And it's coming up next on the Tour Report.
Play money grabber on the SG Tour. Instead of strokes, it's all about the cash. You pick a team of 4 players, one from each tier, and scoring is based on the money that your team wins. Your guys missed the cut? No problem, you're still in the game. The SG Tour Golf Gaming app, available on iOS in the App Store.
It's the final part of the Tour Report from Secret Golf for the BMW Championship this week. Remember, this is the top 70 in the FedEx Cup standings. Quadruple points. They're playing a course that, for the first time, is hosting a PGA Tour event in Baltimore. And the top 30 will move on to Eastlake next week. Now, Tony Finau, with that win at the Northern Trust, catapulted all the way up to number 1 in the FedEx Cup standings. So we know that big moves can be made. And right now, we're going to pick our overall winner for the BMW. Now, I'll go first.
Counterpunch? Okay, go ahead.
This one's for you, Jay. My overall winner, and you have to bear with me, is Dustin Johnson, who was your pick to fall out of the top 30. So Dustin Johnson is 20-1 this week. When we did our re-ranking, he fell all the way to number 44. So that's not good. He's sitting at 22 in the FedEx Cup standings, as you said, and he's coming off a missed cut at the Northern Trust for Liberty National, a tournament that he won last year, albeit on a very different course. 2020, he won the FedEx Cup. And you said it earlier, that was really the start of this incredible play. He went 30 under at the Northern Trust. He was battling with John Ram to win the BMW last year. And then he went on to lift the trophy. Now, I do have some reasons for picking DJ. First of all, total driving and putting, his stats are still really good, 17th and 18th respectively. So you have to look at that. He's played this course before. I know that you're like, oh, whatever. But in 2007 at the Palmer Cup, he was on that winning team. Now, when I was doing some research on this course, I saw it being referred to as a big northeastern style course. And a lot of similarities were drawn up between Caves Valley and Oakmont. Now, I think Oakmont is the way more challenging track out of the two. However, he won the US Open there. Also, and if we're talking about, you know, big northeastern courses, we're gonna look at also TBC Boston, where he shot the 30 under and won the Northern Trust last year. So I'm just drawing a bit of comparison, and I am looking at the strength of his game, which, as you say, can be erratic. However, I think he's going to rise to the challenge this week, and just being that like very under the radar, nonchalant, casual Dustin Johnson, I think it could be a big week.
Yeah, sometimes his nonchalance, it's hard to read. Sometimes it's like nothing's bothering him and he's in his zone, or sometimes he doesn't give a you-know-what. I think it's a I don't give a you-know-what. He's got his mind on getting married. He's probably in freak out mode. There's a reason that he has been putting off his wedding. I don't know what it is. I don't really care. All I know is this guy is playing terrible golf. I want you to take this guy, and I'm going to counter it with my pick here in a second. But it's just shocking in a way that you can be so dominant one season, and then the next season you're going completely the other way. I don't understand it. And Elk puts a lot of stock in the, how do we say this in a nice way? Does he really want to be here? We used to have a category. It was called give a you know what category. We don't call it that anymore. He doesn't. I'm going to be interested to track him all week. I mean, obviously, can he turn it around? Yeah, he's Dustin Johnson. The guy's like a physical freak when it comes to the game of golf. I don't think this is the week. I think he can't wait till the season ends. Not only that, the season can end for him on Sunday, and it's going to.
Okay. Right. Well, I cannot wait to hear your pick, but let's hear from Elk first of all and see who his big winner for the BMW is.
On to who is going to win this event this week. I think it's very clear to me that the guy who wants to win the FedEx Cup the most is Jon Rahm. And he said it, he doesn't like the format, but he's playing by the rules. He has had a tremendous season speckled by disasters and different things that have happened to him. And we all know what happened to him at the Memorial. He tested positive for COVID. He left a 6-shot lead or whatever it was on the table. He started to look forward to, he could have almost won the Open Championship. He didn't putt very well, but he was right there. He then withdrew from Memphis before he even went to Japan because he was gearing up for the playoffs. He's in a great position. I think he's number 2 or 3 or 4, somewhere in there. And then he went to Japan and tested positive for COVID again, missed that, and then missed Memphis because he'd already withdrawn. So I was touting him last week as the most rested player, and I was listening to Jim Nance and Nick Faldo yesterday afternoon watching the last few holes. And they were talking about Rahm could have had a 4 or 5 shot lead yesterday with 9 holes to go, and then all of a sudden something happened. I think he's still hungry. I know he wants to win the FedEx Cup. That's the only thing he's thinking about. He has all of his energy is focused towards that. And I think he's kind of pissed about yesterday. I mean, he had that event. And I just don't see anything stopping Rahm from winning this week and probably winning the whole thing.
Right, well, Jon Rahm is my pick to win the FedEx Cup. So, again, I was like, do I pick him for this week or not? Defending champion at the BMW Championship, but Elk got him. So, Jay, that just leaves you, and I know that you have a little bit of a surprise up your sleeve.
I guess it's a little bit, and I feel like it's kind of going to be underwhelming for most people to hear this guy's name because every week we spit the chart out. He's at near the top to the point where at some point, it may have been last year where he kept coming in at number 1 and we can't do this again. But there's a reason why this guy is like this. Interesting, he does start this week well out of the top 30. He comes in ranked 52nd, which means he's going to be motivated so he can play next week. We have him ranked 3rd as he came out in our re-rank. Vegas has him 35-1. Why do I take this guy? 40th in total driving, 24 green in regulation, 45 proximity to the hole. If he misses the green, 4th in scrambling, putting average 35th. Do I need to go on? This guy is Mr. Consistency week after week. Well, except for last week, he finished 47th. He does come in 19th in form. He's got a 7th and a 15th place finish, 2 out of his last 3. It really shouldn't come as a surprise, especially on a course like this, where it is a little bit tricky because everybody's playing a little bit of the unknown game here, especially in Baltimore. My pick to jump in and win this thing this week, and he's going to catapult himself all the way up the list. He's going to be top 10 by the end of Sunday, is the one and only Mr. Excitement himself, Webb Simpson.
All right, was not expecting that pick from you at all, but 35-1 is good for one of our winners this week. Mm-hmm. So good job.
Well, I kind of have that Tony Finau vibe that you have with Webb Simpson. I'm kind of like, yeah, great, Webb Simpson. He doesn't do a whole lot from the excitement meter, but the guy's a great player. Nothing's going to bother him. He doesn't look, doesn't have the most beautiful swing out there. But I think he's a guy that's going to make some noise this week and walk away with the trophy and set himself up for next week.
Okay, well, he's going to need a good finish to even think about next week at 52 in the standings. Right, thank you very much for watching the Tour Report this week. A little bit different for the BMW Championship. And of course, next week, we are talking about that top 30. They're playing for like $15 million and they start on staggered scoring. So this week is a really big week with the quadruple points, but we will get into all of that next week on the Tour Report. Thank you for watching.